All right.
I
Welcome
got
back
my
to
gal
part-
who could ask for anything more.
Ew. All right. All right. Don't be mean to him.
Oh, he can take it. He's a human being.
I'm
I
green.
don't know what that means.
I don't know.
Are you a human?
Most likely.
Most likely, that's the most obscure answer. All right. So here it is, part 3 of this very long, probably the longest podcast we've ever had.
It's long.
It's making up for
Because
lost
we're
time.
not even into the third.
It's not 6 inches.
No, that's not 6 inches. We've already been over this.
Been-
Two, like 1.5, 2
I have
inches
been
is not
lied
6 inches.
to.
Anyways, if you missed part 1 and part 2, we talked about Lock and Key, and in part 2 we talked about Clone Wars episode 1, season 7.
Yay.
And now we are diving into We're diving into this very late.
Is it late though that it is about to come out on digital?
Ooh.
Look
I wonder if there's
out.
gonna be. Look at you on top of things,
Well.
waiting. You've got that index finger ready to click buy at a moment's notice. So, Rise of Skywalker, the closing chapter of the Skywalker saga. I loved it.
I had an incredibly good. I shut my brain off because I was like, "All right, cool. I'm gonna go have a good time watching this." I watched it by myself,
Yeah,
and I thoroughly had a great time.
that's awesome.
My kids came along, and they're 21 and 24, and they're jaded millennials, and they go, "That movie sucks."
Oh,
They
see,
both hated it.
you had the
Of course
same.
they did.
You had the same
course they did.
experience
And I
as
went-
I did.
Okay, and I will throw this theory out here to you guys because of being a longtime fan and seeing the original in the theater. That means I'm old as dirt. Well, not too old. I'll be 50 this year. But
Skin cancer free.
skin cancer free.
That's
yes, you
right.
need to know that.
Good news.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my
You
theory
talked about it.
for all of us, all of this. I know you guys have talked at length about the fandom of Star Wars, and fans are the Star Wars and Star Trek fans, and they're the worst. They're the worst thing about Star Wars are the fans.
Yep.
Like, okay, so there's the first 3 movies, which are my generation.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest things I've ever seen, and I'll throw
Right.
in the Indiana Jones movies too because I love those too. But when the episode 1 through 3 came out, it was like, I don't like these because they have no heart, in my opinion. They didn't feel like those Star Wars movies. But my kids, they loved them, and you guys love them too. I mean, you kind of grew up with those too. I'm not blaming you or anything,
You can't blame me.
but here's what happens.
You can blame me, Scott.
Those are my kids' movies, right? Those. It's okay. Those movies are my kids' Star Wars movies.
Right.
They
And
weren't for me.
And
but-
then you skip to these last 3 movies where I was like, okay, I'm okay with these. I'm having fun in these movies. We've had enough time to where it all blends in together. I'm cool with it.
Right.
I like these movies. But my kids, these are their episode 1 through 3 movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they were to me. And they're like,
I get that to a
Yeah.
certain extent. I get that.
And they agree there's a lot of really cool fun stuff. They both love Force Awakens. But then
Continue.
Yeah, and I understand. I understand where people don't like Force Awakens in some ways too, because it's kind of episode 4 again. But now
Well, it's kind of like all 3 of it's 4, 5, and 6 all in one movie.
right.
But,
That's fine. But this one, I absolutely loved and had a good time. So go for it. You guys can talk now.
Brian, you loved it, right?
Oh, I love all of them. I
saw the movie 3 times. I saw it the second time with you. I think your second time seeing it, Brian, was with me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I went and saw it a third time. I took my nephew to see it. and every time that there would be moments that they were effective as they were the first.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I talked about this in on Done Seen It, but my biggest issue with the film was that it was not long enough, and it was just so. And it's
I agree.
you said that you got out of your head. You got out of your head because you didn't have a moment to breathe.
Exactly.
It was so jam packed, and it was just relentless. It
Right.
was just like bam, bam, bam. We're moving on to a exposition line, action, action, action.
Right.
And it was
So
great.
much
It was
good
fun, but at the same time, the film suffered because of it. There was so many in the fact that it was just, here's two directors, they're having a tug of war with a franchise, is basically what I saw. And JJ had the last tug and final pull, and he won it. He wrapped it up nicely, and that, for what we have and what was done, it was nice. Yeah, that's kind of like a sum of my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I get it. I think it was very jam packed. The last movie I felt that was so jam packed like that was Mad Max Fury Road, where you're just like the whole movie you're just joom 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 joom.
But that, honestly, Fury Road is probably one of the best films in the past decade.
I agree. It's one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time.
Yeah,
Hands down.
it's so good.
Yeah,
It's so good.
yeah, but and
Never seen
yeah,
it.
I could talk an hour about Fury Road, man.
Never seen it.
Yeah.
You've never seen it?
Oh man,
Nope.
I feel
Wow.
Nope.
I feel
Okay.
like we need to watch this with Brian and then do a podcast on it.
Yeah, we
'Cause-
should probably
okay.
do that.
I think it's
Okay.
It is a movie that needs to be experienced. Oh man, seeing it in the full big screen is. Yeah, go ahead, Brian. What do you think about episode 9?
I
Star
thought.
Wars?
I mean, there's always like my brain is split down the middle. Me and Miles have talked about this. We've all talked about this, where you've got the storyteller side and then you've got the Star Wars fan side. But I'm far less critical of Star Wars literally than any other franchise out there ever. Like,
Yeah, because it's your jam, man.
I love Star Wars. I steep in it. I listen to the soundtracks when I'm working out. If I had the money to buy all the memorabilia, my house would look like a hoarder's den full of Star Wars stuff. It's just, but I don't have it, so thank God I don't have the expendable cash.
But you have an expendable opinion.
I do. I've got plenty of that. I think that it would have succeeded with at least another 45 minutes to an hour dedicated to all of the loose ends that were being tied up from Force Awakens through Last Jedi to it.
And I don't know why that permission wasn't given or why it was taken away. Like,
I was reading something more of the drama of I guess JJ was looked at to do a DC movie or something like that, and that jump from Disney over to Warner Brothers or whoever has the rights to the movie he was going to be making. Disney wanted to kind of make him less appealing, and so they went ahead and greenlit a shorter cut that JJ didn't approve of, didn't want to see released, and he has his own version of the movie somewhere. And so Disney pumped out this thing that was a lot faster, cut out a bunch of stuff, and then like kind of took a dump on JJ Abrams.
they tried to slap him
That's-
for his future.
That's what it looked like. That's what I was reading. Like there was
Bro.
that was reading
They're
that
trying to
JJ
make
Abrams
moves on someone's career with a film that has the largest fan base in the universe.
So
and they're trying to slap one individual. When the one person they should have been slapping is themselves for giving Rian Johnson the permission to write and direct a Star Wars film.
So
Oh my god!
I think that there's a 3.5 hour cut that was trimmed down, and there was a cut that J.J. Abrams like really liked, and it tied everything up just in a nice package that we will probably never see. And so I think that's what happened. And that's where all the reshoots that everybody was hearing about were because they were having to like skirt around all these weird things that were basically written out of the movie at last minute. And yeah,
that's sad.
So, but I loved it.
Man, I loved it too.
The first time I saw it, I went and saw it with my brother-in-law, and he comes out and he poised to complain about it from The Last Jedi, and I love The Last Jedi, so it's like I walked into it, hoping to see some of the resolution from what was posed in The Last Jedi, and obviously J.J. Abrams didn't do anything, so that's okay. The Last Jedi is its own. I see The Last Jedi as like an anthology film for Luke Skywalker, because that's kind of what it turned into. It was just basically Luke Skywalker's final scenes. But
yeah,
I thought it was fantastic. I thought that
that wasn't Luke Skywalker.
there were so many
which JJ tried to clean up in this movie. I felt like it was just a lot of and this is getting into a question someone asked. They wanted our opinion on this one thing, and I think this is a good segue point. I'll just make a pin in it.
Go ahead. No, I don't have any sort of critiques of it because I just love it. I can't wait for it to come out so I can watch it about 100 million times anyway. I thought it was fantastic. So I don't have any critiques, any details.
Well, I loved it too.
Except that was Luke Skywalker. But go ahead.
He can't hear you.
Oh.
When you whisper.
No.
Oh, sorry.
That was really loud.
That was Luke Skywalker.
But, there was a lot of moments. What are you doing?
Farting.
It seems that way.
I'm listening attentively at you.
Hey, Brian, I think you lost your green screen.
Did
bro.
I lose? What moved into the screen?
What is going? What is that?
What is that?
Oh my God, he has no.
What is that?
He has no.
What? Hey,
Oh.
how'd that move over that way? That wasn't there like literally a minute ago.
Magic.
Keep pulling it.
Oh my God, his hand is.
There you
Where's
go.
he? What's he doing?
I bumped it. I must have bumped it. There we
Oh,
go.
no, we still got a little bit at the top.
What the heck happened? Oh, maybe I moved.
That was weird.
How are you doing that?
There we go. What's up?
Magic.
So, I felt like there were a lot of moments in the movie, and I talked about this on Done Seen It, but I'm using it as a segue point, is that there was a lot of, sorry about that. We're going to fix it with little moments of,
But
you
what
don't do
though?
that with a Jedi's weapon. And treating the Millennium Falcon with, like, more care, and in the opening sequence when they're on that ice planet and Poe Dameron smacks it into the side of the base,
Right.
and Chewie's like, he goes and he goes, I know, I'm sorry, kind of thing. That was a big thing with Force Awakens. Everybody was like, you're just slinging the Millennium Falcon around like it's nothing, and it can take these beatings. It's over 100 years old, and I don't know. That was one thing I remember that was brought up. And then, let's see.
Yeah, how is that ship still flying?
Corellians know how to make stuff, dude.
Man, that's talk about quality care there.
Yeah,
Quality
in a galaxy far, far away.
in a long time ago.
Yeah. Obviously not that long ago,
No.
because it's time has passed. Whatever. So there was that. There was like, I don't know. There was a couple of other things, but this person, Jennifer Memelo,
Yes.
she asked, because she had a discussion with her friends about Kylo's mask coming back in this film,
Right.
because it seemed very much so like Rian Johnson hated the mask idea and like got rid of it, and then JJ brought it back with it being like all like mended, and it was like almost like a commercial move in the fact of like, oh, we can make another cool character.
Maybe.
Did you guys have any thoughts on that?
It's
I
to
think-
sell toys.
I think you've got here's what you've got. You've got two directors that have very distinct ideas of imagery. And so I think that the tale that Rian Johnson was telling was that Kylo Ren was ready to let go of all of the encumbrances that held him into what we saw a sneak peek of in Force Awakens, which is why I think he took it to another step that I think even JJ was representing at the end of Force Awakens when Han says you don't need that mask, and so he drops it. And so I think that imagery you've got Kylo Ren letting go of this almost boy-like crush that he has with Darth Vader. So he wears a mask like Darth Vader. And so he's trying to basically act himself into this Dark Lord role. And I think J.J. Abrams showed that he was moving away from that by keeping his mask off for the final part of the movie. And then Rian Johnson took it a different step further because he was he hit a lot of his themes in The Last Jedi were Kylo letting the past die, and so he destroyed the helmet. So I think what we saw afterward was J.J. Abrams reintroducing this idea that Kylo was going to be the Emperor's new Vader, and so he took back on the mantle that he was letting go of before, and now he's assuming his role as the Dark Lord, the Vader figure in the galaxy under Palpatine, and that's why he wore the helmet. If I was to look at how these two directors approach imagery, that's how I would justify it in the story. Now, it also could be merchandising. It also could be JJ saying, well, I like the helmet. But I think that if I was to look at the story elements, and what that character was going through at those times in the story, that's, I think, how those directors represented it. And then that's why when he fuses it back together, there's this red bit in it as imagery to kind of this thing that's coming through the helmet more than in the first one. That's my take on it.
I think it's all of that. I mean,
Yeah.
including the merchandising and, hey, I just
Yeah.
like the helmet. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
cool looking. And honestly, I really liked how it looked in this movie by
Yeah.
doing what they
It
did.
was cool looking.
But it just showed like his duality of the fact that he's got it, the light and dark side are pulling at him in both throughout this whole movie. Where he's like, by the end of Last Jedi, he was like, yeah, we're just crushing the Resistance. That's what I want to do. I want to make that all go away. But by this point, the Resistance is built a little bit back up, but he's starting to doubt everything because he saw. I mean, I guess it's probably the pull of the Emperor, and he's not in control anymore, really, because he's being duped. I will, I think it's. I mean, that was probably it was more his movie than anything. This last one, you know what I mean? I mean,
It was supposed
Kylo's
to be.
movie.
It was supposed to be 100% his movie. There's concept art of him going to an oracle, and the oracle was going to be talking about how he was in love with Rey, and he was going to, and there's even concept art of him as on the light side where he's wearing regular clothes. Like, it was supposed to be way more Ben Solo focused than it actually turned out to be. But I think that's.
by the. Go ahead.
I was just about to say. I think that's a lot of that was cut, and that's what I think.
Shameful.
I think that's what. Yeah. To tank J.J. Abrams, which really seems like a sucky move. I really hope that that's just a rumor, but that's what I read. And J.J. Abrams said some things that kind of alluded to it.
That from Disney.
I mean, I don't put anything past anyone these days within the film industry. It's it's very cutthroat, and if they can one up you and take something away from you when they're trying to like keep you, they're gonna do it. And I mean, they've been doing it to George Lucas since word go.
So
I think my biggest problem with this movie by the end of the movie, near the end of the movie, Kylo's coming to basically help her, and you got the awesome Emperor just as this cool looking puppet thing, which I thought was awesome looking, but him saying almost the same exact lines that he always says, it was really irritating. But I wasn't noticing that because I was just enjoying the movie. But it was my kids that had to come along and go, well, what about when him just saying the same? And I went,
here's my thing. I feel like at that point you were digging and searching for something. Like to have, find an issue. Yeah, find an issue with it, rather than going, okay, this is the same dude who's been doing this all along since episode 1.
Right.
He is the antagonist in all the films.
He is singularly focused. He will say the same things over and over again because he wants one thing.
Power and greed is...
That's it.
It's a one-track mind.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to get anything else out of him. I mean, I didn't have an issue with that.
My biggest issue, like I'm going to come down, this is my biggest issue by the end of, and by you explaining about the whole, the show and talking to the Oracle and the Rey, being in love with Rey and stuff. I thought the kiss was very forced. I thought it should have been more of a hug because
It was forced.
But because I saw the characters more as like a brother and sister kind of characterization. I did.
I see that, and I think
but it's
that
ingrained.
I think that largely has to do. Well, never mind. That's just my opinion. I don't know how it seeds into that because I don't think we learned enough about Rey's opinions to really know. And I think I don't know.
There's a lot of unanswered stuff too.
I don't, and I said this on Done Seen It. I didn't fully fall in love with Rey's character. I love Daisy Ridley. I love what she did, but I cared more about everything else that was going on around her. Because I was like, okay, well, how is she going to solve it? But then I was like, how are these other people dealing with that? And I was more interested in that.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that fault comes in. I don't know if that just has... Maybe I just need to watch all 3 of them back to back and see how that goes.
That's my plan.
I do want to watch all 3 together and see what my walkaway is with it.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Rey, but I wasn't like... She wasn't my Luke Skywalker.
No.
And I think they tried to maybe force that, and maybe my subconscious is fighting it. I don't know. And I don't necessarily think that she was supposed to be a Luke Skywalker.
No.
I wouldn't.
But the love thing, I bought into it, and that was a moment for me that I got emotional. I was like, that makes sense. To me, it made sense because they were the balance, the light and the dark, and between the two of them, they created the balance.
Right.
And that peace and balance was brought them together in the end.
Yeah.
I don't think I really wish he hadn't died though. That was one of the things.
Maybe he didn't.
Maybe he didn't. It is Star Wars. I mean, you know who my favorite character through the whole movie was, though? I really wanted more Poe. I was really digging
Dude,
Poe
I
in
love
the
Poe,
movie.
and I hated what they did with him in
Last Jedi.
In the Last Jedi,
But
is they completely ignored the fact of who he was like established as in The Force
Yeah.
Awakens.
Yeah.
They just made him a misogynist pig.
Yeah. And in this one, you're like, he's really fun in this. He's having a good time. And
Yeah.
I loved the other thing I really enjoyed was getting to see Chewbacca kick butt.
Yeah.
'Cause there's nothing cooler than Chewbacca running with the bowcaster and shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, Chewbacca. And then he gets the medal. I mean that.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
anything that is fan service.
There are
that was-
so many fan service moments that are
Yeah.
subtle. Like, yeah, that was a
the
good
biggest
one.
The biggest one for me, and yeah, I was bawling like a baby all 3 times I watched it, was when Harrison Ford popped up.
Oh God.
After I got
Yeah.
past the question of how much did they pay him to get him back on screen, I was like, oh my God, there he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then when he said, I know, I lost it.
Yeah.
Well, I
Lost
think
it.
what's happened with Star Wars is we're getting lost. We're missing the forest for the trees, because there's certain like I go back to the imagery things. There's certain things that if we were paying attention to how Rey in The Force Awakens. So you've got this weird little pseudo romance between Finn and Rey, and he has to protect her, and he always keeps taking her hand or whatever, you know. And so she's basically saying, "Stop taking my hand, stop taking my hand." Okay, so that little thread goes through to the Last Jedi, where there's basically this whole, at the end, Kylo Ren's basically saying, in the end, you're going to take my hand and join my side, basically. And so she said, so in Rise of Skywalker, when she says, I did want to take your hand, I wanted to take Ben's hand.
Yeah.
You've got that. That's a fun little
Definitely.
thing that's thrown in there that not a lot of people are paying attention to, because you miss it, because there's all these things, there's all these tropes and things that you hope you're going to be seeing in a Star Wars film, or you get caught up on who's Rey's lineage and all this stuff, and the fandom goes on these theory rants and who's Snoke and who's all this stuff, and you start missing some of those things. So like her reaction when, and I used to complain about it, I wished that they had left Kylo Ren's mask off or on until Han Solo's death. Like, you take it off, and then you see his face, and then you associate his face with killing Han Solo. Then you establish him as a monster. But now I've seen the whole trilogy, and I'm thinking, okay, they took it off when he meets Rey. And if you watch her reaction, she's kind of like a little enamored with him. And then you introduce in The Last Jedi when they do the little Force connection, and he's got his shirt off, and she's like, you know, she's attracted to him. You know, she's attracted to him. So it's very subtle storytelling throughout these whole things that I think people lose sight of, because
we're missing those little moments because there's so much mystery in this new trilogy that became, because of the poisonous fandom.
That's exactly right. They expand all of these things that shouldn't have been on the forefront of our mind. We should have been noticing all of this other stuff. You know, Finn's attracted to her. He said, "Oh, you got to go back for your boyfriend, a cute boyfriend." You know, he's attracted to her, but she's not attracted to him. And then you notice she is attracted to this other guy. She wants to join Ben Solo, and then at the very end, when she finally has Ben Solo in front of her, there's been a romance between the two of them through the entire trilogy. They finally have
you're right.
Rey and Ben Solo.
I didn't have a hard time buying into it.
Their natural reaction was she basically kisses him. Like, he's just sitting there when he's looking at her, and she leans forward, kisses him. That's why his reaction at the end of it is so, like, he's stunned, and then boop, dead. It's a great little. It's a love story that we've not seen, like especially in a Star Wars film. So I think that there's so many little things that we missed because it's a brand new Star Wars trilogy. Everybody had their opinions of what it should have been, that we didn't stop to look at what we got. And now everybody's paying attention. Now it's like everybody's gotten so irritated with it that they just kind of want to discount the whole movie of The Last Jedi, when you don't realize that the training montage with Rey and that rock is literally the exact same moves that Kylo Ren uses against Luke Skywalker in the final saber battle with Luke Skywalker. You're not missing that these two have been connected from the very beginning. And then you think that a lot of people are like, well, they just brought that dyad thing in the very end. No, they've had it almost the entire time, but you're missing it because you wanted to know who Rey's parents were. And so I think what happened...
Yeah, they're wanting to be spoon-fed everything. That's
what's
what
happened.
they're doing.
So for me, when everybody's like, "Oh, Last Jedi sucks," I was like, "Okay, yeah." There's story points that I think that they could have worked on. I think Rian Johnson did great. He did great on the Luke and Rey stuff. Should have had some input into the Poe, Finn, Rose, Finn, Leia. That whole B story needed a little bit more work, but
A lot more work.
More than a little bit. That's honestly my biggest qualm with
the B
film.
story. And you know what?
That makes the film suffer because they try to treat the B story as the foundation of the film. Maybe it's just so bad that it's distracting from the A side.
The B story carried the motion of The Last Jedi, and it suffered because I don't think Rian Johnson cared enough about those characters to think through their logic. But that's my critique of it.
And is that Kathleen Kennedy like seeding a lot of not a lot of things, but a few things? I mean,
maybe.
I don't know.
I'm sure at the beginning of this whole thing they said, "All right, here's what we want. We want a female protagonist. She needs to fall in love with the male antagonist by the end," or they gave the broad strokes. We want this theme on this one, and so they probably just try to fit them in as best as they could, and instead of just letting it kind of grow organically. And I think they did a great job with what we've got. I think what's happened is we lose sight of the things that we got because of what we thought we needed and we
in
wanted.
20 years, everybody's going to go, "Oh, I love these movies."
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
And I'm going to be
They're
there.
going to, because everybody's doing that with
there, and I'll be
episode
like,
1 through 3.
I've loved it ever since it came out.
I can honestly say I'm still not a lover of the three movies.
I love parts of 1 through 3, though. I really do.
I think 2 is probably one of the worst movies of all time.
Clone Wars
of all time? That's an extreme.
No, it's a bad movie.
It's
dude.
not good, but it's not the worst film in the world.
Of popular movies, I'll say that. Okay.
I
know you guys have lots of and 3
I
has
think
a lot of
you
issues
have
too, but
in episode 1 through 3, you have one of the most meticulous veins of villainy in any saga, in any franchise. You've got Palpatine
Palpatine's amazing.
Playing both sides.
Yeah.
Not only is he playing both sides, but he has to balance how the Force is going to react to what he's doing. And when you watch it, if you watch it all the way through and you watch it with that in mind, it makes a completely different. The first trilogy is literally Palpatine's like playground. Everybody's a chess move on Palpatine's board. He's playing both. He's playing both sides because he knows he's going to get something he wants. And so I watch it. I used to dog it, but then I just watch it and I'm like, man, there's so many weird. George Lucas just took so many meticulous details to plan this Emperor Palpatine out. So I I thought they did with Palpatine in Rise of Skywalker what Rogue One did with Vader. Like, you knew Vader was powerful. You knew he was a force to be reckoned with. But then you saw it in Rogue One, and you're like, "That's my Vader."
Yeah.
Hashtag that's my Vader. And then in Rise of Skywalker, when you see how like decrepit and evil and disgusting
and
Palpatine
dead,
is,
and
you're
how
like,
the Sith are obsessed with living on, and
he's
even
just so
through death.
desperate for
And
eternal
even
living.
in that, he still has this power
Yeah.
because he's so
His
connected with the dark side.
Fingers have been like eaten by fish and stuff. Like, he's just this. That's what I think. Like, that's the Palpatine I knew we had in the back pocket of Star Wars. And then you get to see him. I'm like, yeah, he's just like desperate, clawing at power. It's eating his fingers away. The imagery is just so nice. I honestly say J.J. Abrams has an eye for imagery that I appreciate, and even Rian Johnson, that I don't think George Lucas understood or didn't quite match in the first 6 episodes of imagery, of like layers of imagery that I like and appreciate. This is why I think I'm less critical of the Star Wars, these last sequels, because like there's so many little things that I'm like, yeah, he's clawing for power. His fingers are missing. He's been clawing at it for so long, it's eaten his fingers away.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. That's from a storyteller's perspective. I'm like, I love that stuff.
And he's so powerful. I've had a few people mention to me, like, almost immediately after I saw the first one, somebody had already, like, I sat down to watch it for the first time, and it was nearly spoiled for me. Because they were like, just randomly started texting me, and I'm like, dude, I'm sitting down to watch this. And like, I happened to catch it. And I was like, man, if I didn't already know what was going to happen just because of how things work in storytelling and in the Star Wars world, I would have been really mad at you.
Right.
Yeah.
But where was I going with that? What was this?
How powerful Palpatine was?
He was so powerful, right?
Yeah.
I mean, seeing him shoot lightning and freaking completely take down
that fleet,
like, systems worth of fleet.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never, when that many ships came on the screen, my jaw hit the floor. I was like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Well,
that and like
I heard this. Okay, so I was listening. I'm gonna kind of go into things that would have been so more powerful, or unless you got something you want to add to that.
No, go ahead.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
So I've listened to a lot of podcasts on Star Wars. One of them being, if you go on YouTube and watch Kevin Smith talk about watching it for the first, second, third time, he's an emotional dude anyways. Like, he's so passionate about Star Wars. But if you go watch that or just listen to him talk about it, dude, it got me so worked up. With a moment of Leia, like, living on until the very end, until her son carried on and, and to the light side,
Right.
through his death. Like, she did not fade away until he did. And him talking about the medal, that was given
To Chewbacca.
well, no, well, it was then, but she was holding on to the medal that was given to Han through all of that. So it's like she was using that as a way to pull Han back up and project him there as a way of saving her son.
Right.
And Kevin Smith talks about just how it's like her love. She fell in love with Han, the moment that he came back. and helped Luke in that moment,
Right.
like,
Mhm.
"All right, hurry up, kid, like, let's
Yeah.
get out of here,
Mhm.
and just hearing Kevin Smith talk about it is freaking awesome, dude. I was like,
Yeah.
I was
He's
listening
passionate.
listening to it at work, and I was bawling my eyes out. I'm like, dude, man, you can't do this, Kevin. You can't do this. And
Mhm.
let's see, and then he started sharing, because he's got a writer buddy. Of course, he's got several, but one of his writing buddies was like, there were these moments that were missed just with one line, and one of them that really stuck with me was with Finn. So when they go to the planet where the Death Star is, right?
Right.
And they've got these troopers that have rebelled, and
Yeah.
they're on the
Which is
planet.
awesome.
That would have been
Mhm.
so much more powerful if, when he goes, well, what made you do it? Instead of making it so much more about the Force that they didn't really address, they were like, it was just a feeling.
Mhm.
It should have been one more line, and I like 10,000% agree with this. She should have said, "We heard about you."
That would have been, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, that would have made Finn so much more. It's like,
Made him important.
because he listened to the Force
Right.
calling him, he was a leader, a true leader in that
Mhm.
moment, And I think that would have been, I mean, maybe there's some subtext there, but I think there was just a few moments where just a line could have made things so much more impactful.
Right.
And
Yeah.
maybe they were there and they got cut.
They got
Maybe they
thrown
were
out.
there.
I don't know. Yeah, there's so many of those that I think got missed with the whole everybody critiquing that the Force Awakens was basically the rehashing of this, and you lose out on some of the stuff that that we were given, like the whole, like, there's moments where I've been seeing people cutting together Han Solo from, you know, 4 through 6, and Adam Driver's performance as Ben Solo, and how similar they are. Like, he slides out of the doorway in the exact same way that Han slides out of a doorway. He has like a look, the exact same look that Han Solo. Like, they plan meticulous things for Kylo Ren and Ben Solo to do that look so much like Han Solo. Like, there's supposed to be layers of that in a story, and they've done that with, the whole exchange between Ben Solo and Han, where he says "Dad." Like, he doesn't say anything beyond that. Just like he's got the same hangups that Han Solo does, that won't let Han Solo say "I love you" back. It's the same. He's his dad's son. There's
Yeah.
so many of those connections there that you miss out on if you're just like, well, he doesn't look like Han Solo, or he doesn't, well, I don't. What happened to him? Who's his
It
parent?
doesn't
Who's
look
his
like
mom?
Han Solo. Is that really a valid argument? You're gonna go, he doesn't look like Han Solo. Like, that's.
So
Sorry.
you
If
miss
you were
out,
saying that out there in the universe, you're stupid.
you're missing that. That's just an example of things that, like, people miss out on if they are like, there's something to be said about theorizing stuff, but you miss out on stuff on the story,
You
the
need
story
to- you need to-
subtext, the
It's
layers.
okay to geek out and fan out about something.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, once
You
you
should.
get what you got, you need to throw everything like in the dumpster.
And pay attention to what
It's
you got,
okay to
because you
keep
may
it,
have something that
but
you're.
don't let it sour what you've gotten.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what I did with this one. It was like,
Yeah.
and I honestly I got the feeling again, like when I saw Force Awakens, I was like, cool, Star Wars. I was like,
Yeah.
yes, this is a Star Wars movie. And when I saw Last Jedi, I went, this is not a Star Wars movie to me. And it really and I see there's great things in it. It's one of those things where I have only watched that movie once, and that was in the theater. I just could. I know you're looking at me now, Brian. I appreciate that. Staring at me like I'm a terrible person. But you know what? I felt like I'd been betrayed in some way, because I'm like, I've loved Star Wars for so long too, and we'd had Rogue One, and you're just like, oh man, we got good stuff that can happen,
Right.
and then we get this movie that was controlled by one dude that didn't get. It was like no one went, hey man, you need to not do this, and maybe
Yeah.
I feel like there needed in most movies nowadays. Most of the scripts are written by several people, and like they go, here's a part of the movie you need to do, and they work together. But then, I that's why I went into this movie. I mean, I feel like Solo was released in the wrong time period. If Solo had been released a year later after Last Jedi, it would probably been successful, I think.
More successful,
yeah. More successful because
Yeah.
people were like, I hate Star Wars right now.
Yeah.
Right.
And the majority of people did not like Last Jedi, even though it made a crap load of money. But then
Yeah.
you go to this movie, the new movie, and I had like, I'm done with all the fandom being pissed off about everything they can nitpick at, like freaking Greedo shooting whatever. Who cares? Just enjoy
Right.
the movie, and that's what I did. With
Yeah.
this. I went. I just want to see
Yeah.
a Star Wars movie that I want to enjoy, and I just let it all go. I felt like I had been like through a therapy session with myself, and I just said, let it go.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
Maybe Star Wars is to blame for Netflix tiptoeing around, really just going gung ho on a first season of something new
Yeah.
that
Just
already
let
has
it go.
that
Just
already has.
do
like,
it. Just
I think we already mentioned that, but like it
Yeah,
really,
well-
the more and more I think about it, that has to be why all these producers and head execs are so scared to make something,
yeah.
because they know that that they're probably going to be in the hole for it.
Yeah, they're like it's because of fans. We're just gonna go. This sucks. This sucks. This sucks. Instead of going, oh well, this is a different interpretation of it.
I mean,
just
yeah.
try to enjoy it, and that's
Right.
why I thoroughly enjoyed Rise of Skywalker, because it brought back like those first 15 minutes made, and I know it's just like rapid shot, rapid shot, rapid shot. They're just jumping.
Now, talk
and-
about this. It's the first time a Star Wars movie is not opened with a scene. It was a montage.
yeah. And I loved that.
It was an opening shot. Like, we still got like the space shot, but then it was like straight into a montage.
yeah.
Like,
Right.
I wonder if that was a decision by JJ or if that was a decision by Disney.
Well,
Yeah.
I that opening, it was like, I was immediately, I felt like I felt when in '77 watching Star Wars. I was like, so cool. I was like, oh yeah, you're doing stuff that, like, in my head as a kid playing with Star Wars toys, I was like, yeah, why don't they do this? And you're like, you're seeing it, and it's going, choo, choo, and I'm like, I didn't even think about them doing that, and I'm like, that's cool, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Finn's, and you're like, oh, cool, it's Poe again,
Yeah.
awesome, and then and personally, I thought this was like one of the best looking of all the Star Wars movies. I thought the colors were gorgeous, the sound was really good. I know my kids were like, they didn't think that there was, in the soundtrack, they didn't feel there was a, like Duel of Fates type thing where you're like, holy crap, because of the music wise. I didn't notice that.
That
I was
doesn't.
I was just like, it's Star
Yeah,
Wars.
I
It
didn't
didn't.
notice
It
that
didn't
either.
warrant it.
No.
Because
No.
John Williams is a mastermind when it comes to carrying the film.
Right.
Like, honestly, if you take John Williams out of the equation, Star Wars would not be what it is.
Exactly.
I really don't think so. You can't take that score out and still have the same movie.
He pulls out emotion that's probably not even there. And I think that
The dude's
he's
playing
just a
with our
master.
hearts.
Yeah, he's just
he knows. But yeah, I will say that I'm actually, when this comes out finally on video, I feel like I'm going to watch 1 through 9 in a row. I feel like I owe myself.
How many hours is that?
That's a lot. That's a lot.
That's
of time.
probably
Brian, you know this because you do this every
probably
year.
like, yeah. I mean,
And then you're
you
gonna
can't watch the whole saga in one day.
No,
over
you
You
can't.
have to split it
okay.
up. Like I've woken up, put in the DVD, and sat and tried to watch all of the original 6 in one day, and you can't do it. I mean, you can, but
And then
it's
you
like
got to add Rogue One in there
it's
too.
15 hours or something for just those 6.
Don't you agree? Don't you agree? You have to add Rogue
Oh
One.
yeah.
In there
Oh,
now?
now I do. Now I
We
throw
have to.
Rogue One in there. I throw in Solo. I just
Really? You throw Solo in?
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I don't,
Right after Revenge of the Sith.
Okay. I don't think I would, but I understand.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
You need all of that Star Wars in there.
I have to. I have to.
I mean,
That's why
I've
I
yet
first-
to do that. I've yet to do that, and I want to do it.
You
I'm
should.
I want to do that.
You make
I'm down.
connections. You make connections that you don't think about when you watch it.
Yeah,
like-
because in pieces, there's a through line if you watch it all together.
So do you agree, like, the first 3 movies is basically Palpatine's movies? The second 3 movies are Luke Skywalker's movies, and these last 3 movies are... Is it Ben's movies, or are they Rey's movies?
I think they're both because they're a dyad.
Yeah. But definitely the middle 3 are Luke's movies. With a
Yeah,
little bit
they
of
are.
Leia there. So And
Yeah.
my kids were bitching about that too, about Leia in this last movie. They were like, "Oh, when did you train?" I'm like, "Dude, this is like 30 years between it, and she decided to stop training."
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that she still doesn't use the Force or feels the Force. And I was like, "Calm down."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You're nitpicking it
and they're
every little-
missing the point of the Force
Yeah, exactly.
completely. Also, fun fact: they actually used Carrie Fisher's daughter
Yeah,
to play her in that scene.
that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there was somebody.
Didn't they use her in Rogue One in that scene too? Where...
No, that was a different actor.
Oh, okay.
I think that was actually the one who did the voice on Rebels and Clone Wars.
Oh, okay. I look when I look at
Is it
Rogue
not?
One.
Am I wrong about that?
I don't know. I have to.
I
I
feel
have
like
to look
they
it up.
used that actress.
I have not watched Rogue One in so long, but man, and I loved how. I mean, I always wanted to see some Grand Moff Tarkin stuff, dude. And then because I love Peter Cushing, I will watch any Peter Cushing movie. He's just like. It's so weird that this frail man has such a presence in a movie.
If you read the Tarkin Star Wars book,
Yeah.
Tarkin is one incredible dude. Like he's freaking sweet. He's a cool guy.
I
like
love
he
the
is.
fact that he can. He was like the only one in New Hope where it's like Vader's like, okay, I'll do what you say.
Yeah, if you ever get to listen to or read the Tarkin book, you understand why too, because he's pretty baller villain. He's pretty cool. Like what they do with his story, his origin, and everything. It's really cool.
Yeah, I love Tarkin. I love him. But yeah, man, I think it's pretty much just say that we enjoyed this last movie.
Yeah, and I'm excited to watch them all.
Yeah, I'm
like,
gonna rewatch
back
them
to
all.
back.
Mhm.
And I really do feel like it was a good wrap up to the Skywalker
Yeah,
anthology.
It was.
You know, it's nice little button there, and you know there are moments that I wish had been in there because we know that they were on set with all the Force ghosts. I would have loved to have seen all of them standing there behind her, and
just
having the
all
physical
of them.
presence. Yeah, I mean Kanan,
Yeah,
Ahsoka, Ezra, all of that. Like you, there was so many fan service moments in the film that one would have been the icing and the candles on the cake on fire, and then you have like freaking Jabba the Hutt blow him out and give a laugh. I don't know. It's like, it would have been so sweet. Like it was. I don't know.
could have been Boss Nass for all.
Or Jar Jar.
Yeah.
You mean we were all like, Like the boys,
Shoulda
that was
had-
their thing through the whole. All three of these movies are like, can it just be Jar Jar? And like, by the end of the movie, instead of it being the Emperor, it's Jar Jar, and he's like, I've been manipulating all of you. And I'd have been like, all right,
Okay,
I'm
cool.
good with that.
Oh,
Nice.
man.
Yeah, I mean, you're the cause of all this crap in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Jar Jar.
So
Nah.
good.
Nah.
Well, I mean, that's what we have now. Of course, we have the comics. If you want to continue to watch that stuff, you can go to Pastimes in Asheville. Go see Scott or Chris, and they'll hook you up. Definitely, definitely say hey to Scott. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, here on YouTube. Well, here on YouTube and here
On the tubes.
on Podbean. Podbean is where our main service. That's where we have our website for the podcast. And be sure to go on iTunes and give us 5 stars. Share us with your friends, your family, people that you know listen and talk about stuff like this.
And there's that Spillcorn thing too. You guys got going.
Oh yeah, on YouTube, Spillcorn.
The
We got
Spill
a
corn.
Spillcorn on the Instagram and the YouTube.
Get that
and the
spell
Facebook.
corn on.
on the gram.
Yeah, where
Shush.
I do, you know, I do Done Seen It, where I talk about movies that I've seen recently. Some of those that are coming out are Birds of Prey. I know, Scott, you've seen that. I enjoyed it. I
love
have my
Birds of
issues.
Prey.
I had my issues with it, but it was a lot of fun. It's a bubblegum film for sure.
Girl power.
Yeah, all the way. And then, yeah. Oh, Call of the Wild with Harrison Ford. I just watched that last night. I cried like a freaking baby, dude.
See, that's one of the reasons why I don't want to see it, because I know I'm gonna cry.
Oh no, it's so good though. Like, it's a good cry. It's just really, really sweet. It's awesome. It's cool. And then Downhill with Will Ferrell and what's her name?
That looks fun.
It was
Julia
interesting.
Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah, I have a hard time saying her
Just
name.
say Elaine.
Elaine, yeah.
Elaine
Seinfeld.
from Seinfeld.
Just Elaine.
But anyways, guys, be sure to follow us on there. Subscribe to YouTube. That way you don't miss a single thing from us. And we will talk to you later. And
L8.
Later, Gator.
have a fantastic day, guys.
See ya.